Alien warning. Never attack the humans. You won't survive their fury. Part 1. The Silence Before the Storm. The Galactic Collective had watched humanity for 300 years. They sent hidden probes to observe Earth. They studied human wars, human art, human love, and human hate. The 17 elder races of the collective talked about these strange creatures from a small blue planet in a quiet corner of the galaxy. They called them soft ones because their bodies had no scales or armor. They called them brief lives because they died after only 80 or 90 years. They called them chaos makers because their history was full of wars and disasters. But all the elder races agreed on one thing. Humans were not a threat. They were too young, too weak, and too busy fighting each other to ever matter in galactic politics. When humanity finally built ships that could travel faster than light, the collective sent Ambassador Al of the Dominion to meet them. He was a skilled diplomat who had made first contact with dozens of species. He expected the humans to be primitive and easily impressed. He was wrong about one of those things. Commander Daniel Price led the human delegation aboard the starship Endeavour. He was a tall man with kind eyes and a warm smile. He shook Al's hand firmly and looked him straight in the eyes. "We come in peace," Daniel said. "We want to learn from you, we want to trade with you, we want to be your friends." Al studied the human carefully. He saw no deception in Daniel's face. The human truly meant what he said. "Welcome to the Galactic Collective," Al replied. "We have much to teach you." Over the next 50 years, humanity spread across the stars. They built colonies on distant worlds. They opened trade routes with alien species. They shared their music, their food, and their stories with anyone who would listen. The humans were friendly. They laughed easily and cried openly. They asked endless questions and never seemed satisfied with simple answers. They adopted alien customs and taught their own in return. They made friends wherever they went. Ambassador Al visited human worlds many times. He ate their strange foods and listened to their beautiful music. He watched human children play with alien children, their laughter mixing together like water from two streams. "They are good people," Al reported to the Collective Council. "Emotional and sometimes foolish, but good. They mean no harm to anyone." The Council agreed. Humanity was granted full membership in the collective. The 17 elder races welcomed the 18th with open arms. For 50 years, peace held across the galaxy. Then the Imperium came. They were not members of the collective. They lived on the far edge of the galaxy, a proud and warlike species that believed in only one law: the strong take what they want, and the weak suffer what they must. Their emperor had ruled for 100 years. He was old and cruel and hungry for glory. His advisors told him about the human colonies that were spreading toward space. They told him humans were weak. They told him humans would be easy prey. The emperor smiled and gave his orders. Admiral or assembled a fleet of 12 warships. They were the finest vessels in the Imperium, armed with weapons that could crack open planets. The admiral was eager to prove himself. He wanted the glory of conquest. Their target was a small human colony called New Haven. New Haven was a farming world. 40,000 humans lived there, growing food to feed other colonies. They had no warships, no planetary shields, and no heavy weapons. Their only protection was a small security force of 200 men and women. Captain Shaw led that security force. She was 34 years old with short brown hair and a scar on her chin from a training accident. She had never seen real combat. Neither had any of her people. The fleet arrived without warning. Was eating breakfast when the alarm started screaming. She ran to the command center and saw 12 enemy warships filling the sky. They were already firing. "All units, defensive positions," ordered. Her voice was steady even though her heart was pounding. "Protect the civilians. Get them to the shelters." Her people tried. They fought with everything they had. 200 humans against 12 warships and 10,000 soldiers. They knew they could not win. They fought anyway. The battle lasted 3 hours. Watched her people die one by one. She watched the bombs fall on hospitals and schools. She watched families running through the streets, only to be cut down by enemy fire. She sent distress calls to anyone who would listen. "This is New Haven. We are under attack. We need help. Please, someone help us." No help came. In the final hour, gathered her last 12 soldiers in a small building near the main shelter. 3,000 civilians were hiding behind them, mostly children and their parents. "We hold this line," said. "We hold it until we can't hold it anymore." They held it for 47 minutes. When they finally broke through, they found standing alone among the bodies of her soldiers. She was wounded in 3 places and could barely lift her weapon, but she was still standing. "Brave, Admiral," or said as he walked toward her. "Foolish but brave." Spat blood on his boots. "You killed children. You murdered innocent people who never did anything to you." "We are the strong take what they want." The Admiral raised his weapon. "You humans are weak. You were always going to die. We simply made it happen sooner." His final transmission was broadcast across all collective frequencies. Every species in the galaxy heard her last words. "My name is Captain Shaw of New Haven Colony. Today, the killed 32,000 of my people. 6,000 of them were children. Remember their names. Remember what happened here. And know this, humanity will not forget. We will never forget." The transmission cut to static. The Galactic Collective held an emergency meeting. All 17 elder races gathered to discuss the massacre. They expressed horror and sympathy. They condemned in strong language. They passed resolutions and made speeches. But they did nothing. They were too powerful. Their fleet numbered in the thousands. Their empire spanned hundreds of worlds. The elder races did not want to risk war with such a dangerous enemy. So they offered humanity their condolences and returned to their comfortable lives. Ambassador Al was ashamed. He had called the humans friends. He had eaten their food and laughed at their jokes, and when they needed help, his people had abandoned them. 1 week after the massacre, a human representative came to the Collective Council. Her name was Colonel Lane. She was 47 years old with gray in her hair and something cold in her eyes. "What does humanity intend to do?" asked High Counselor. Looked at him without blinking. "We intend to respond." "You cannot fight alone. Your military is too small. Your technology is." "We intend to respond," repeated. "And we have a message for this council. Stay out of our way." She turned and walked out of the chamber. Ambassador Al watched her leave. He had seen that look before in the eyes of predators on his. It was not anger. It was not hatred. It was the cold patience of a hunter who has chosen its prey. For the first time in his long career, Al felt something he had never felt toward humans before. He felt afraid. Alien warning: never attack the humans. You won't survive their fury. Part 2: The Awakening of Old Ghosts. The Imperium celebrated their victory over New Haven. Admiral Orr returned home as a hero. The Emperor himself placed the Crimson Fang Medal around his neck, the highest honor a warrior could receive. "You have proven our strength to the galaxy," Emperor declared before his court. "The humans are weak. They will send diplomats to beg for peace. They will offer us tribute, and we will take whatever we want from them." The court cheered. Musicians played songs of victory. Dancers performed ancient war dances. Wine flowed freely through the palace halls. But no diplomats came. 1 month passed, then 2, then 3. They waited for human ambassadors who never arrived. They expected crying and begging and offers of surrender. Instead, they got silence. Total silence. Humanity vanished from the galactic stage. Their trade ships stopped arriving at collective ports. Their embassies closed their doors. Their communication channels went dark. The humans simply disappeared as if they had never existed. Ambassador Al grew worried. He contacted his friends in the intelligence service, the best spies in the known galaxy. They had agents everywhere, seeing everything. "What are the humans doing?" Al asked. The spymaster was quiet for a long moment. "We do not know. They have blocked all our sensors. They have caught all our spies. We cannot see anything inside human space. Nothing at all. We can see energy signatures, massive energy signatures. Their shipyards are working day and night. Their factories are producing at levels we have never recorded before. They are building something, Ambassador, something big." "What kind of something?" "We do not know, but the scale is frightening." Al ended the communication and stared out his window at the stars. He thought about the humans he had known over the years. Daniel Price, who had greeted him with such warmth at first contact. Lane, who had looked at the council with ice in her eyes. And Shaw, whose final words still echoed across the galaxy. What were the humans building, and what did they plan to do with it? 3 months and 12 days after the New Haven massacre, a young officer named Sub-Commander sat at his sensor station on the border world of Prime. It was a quiet posting. Nothing ever happened here. Then his screen lit up with warnings. "Commander," called out, his voice shaking, "I am detecting an approaching fleet." "How many ships?" Checked his readings. He checked them again. He ran a diagnostic on his equipment because the numbers could not possibly be correct. 6,000 ships, Commander, moving faster than anything in our records." The commander laughed. "Your sensors are broken. No fleet has 6,000 ships. Check again." "I have checked 3 times, sir. The readings are accurate. They will be here in 4 minutes." The commander stopped laughing. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel like a storm breaking over the horizon. Ship after ship after ship, filling the sky with steel and fire. They moved in perfect formation, as if controlled by a single mind. At the center of the fleet flew the dreadnought Valor, the largest warship humanity had ever built. Its commander was Admiral Samuel Briggs, a man of 56 years with white hair and hands that never stopped trembling since the day his daughter died on New Haven. His daughter had been a teacher there. She had been helping children evacuate when the bombs fell. Admiral Briggs looked at the defense fleet on his screen. 30 ships against his 6,000. The enemy did not even try to run. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Channel open, sir." "Vessels, this is Admiral Samuel Briggs of the United Earth Navy. You have 45 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. If you do not surrender, you will be destroyed. There will be no second warning." The commander's response came quickly. "Human, you are in space. You are the ones who should surrender. Our empire will crush you like insects." Admiral Briggs ended the communication. "Target all enemy vessels. Fire." The Battle of Prime lasted 47 minutes. Every warship was destroyed. Every military base on the planet was reduced to burning rubble. Human soldiers landed on the surface and captured every weapon, every vehicle, every piece of military equipment they could find. But the civilians were not touched. Human medics even treated wounded who had been caught in the crossfire. When the battle ended, Admiral Briggs broadcast a message to the entire planet. "People of Prime, we are not here to conquer you. We are not here to hurt you. We are here for one reason only. Your leaders sent a fleet to New Haven. That fleet murdered 32,000 innocent people, including 6,000 children. We have come to find the ones who gave that order. Stay in your homes. Do not interfere. And tell your emperor this, we are coming for him." The message was received in the imperial palace within hours. Emperor listened to it 3 times, his face growing darker with each repetition. "How many ships did they have?" he demanded. 6,000, Your Majesty." 6,000. That is impossible. 3 months ago, they had barely 500 combat vessels in their entire fleet. It appears they have been busy, Your Majesty. The Emperor stood up from his throne and walked to the window. He looked out at the stars that had belonged to his family for 10,000 years. Call our vassals, he ordered. Summon our reserve fleets. Contact every ally we have. I want the largest military force in the history of this empire assembled within 30 days. And then, Your Majesty. And then we will teach these humans the true meaning of war. Within 3 weeks, they had assembled a fleet of 8,000 warships. It was the largest military gathering in their empire's history. Warriors came from every corner of space, eager to crush the upstart humans. But Admiral Briggs did not attack the assembled fleet. Instead, he led his forces around the enemy defensive line. His ships struck at supply depots and communication hubs. They destroyed shipyards and weapons factories. They appeared from nowhere, attacked without mercy, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. They had never faced an enemy like this. They were used to battles of honor, fleet against fleet, strength against strength. The humans did not fight that way. The humans fought like predators hunting prey. Colonel Lane returned to the Galactic Collective with a message. The elder races gathered to hear her speak. We do not want your help, she said. We do not need your help, but we want you to understand something. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every ambassador. For 50 years we lived among you in peace. We traded with you. We laughed with you. We called you friends. When our people were murdered, we asked for your help, and you gave us nothing but empty words. The chamber was silent. Remember that, continued. Remember it well, because when this war is over, we will remember it too. We will remember who stood with us, and we will remember who stood aside. She walked out of the chamber without looking back. Ambassador Al watched her go. He thought about the humans he had known, all those kind and friendly people who had seemed so harmless. He realized now that he had never really known them at all. The humans had spent their entire history surviving against impossible odds. They had survived ice ages and plagues and predators and wars. They had fought their way up from nothing on a world that tried to kill them every day. For 50 years, they had hidden that history behind smiles and handshakes. Now the masks were coming off, and the galaxy was about to learn what humanity was truly capable of. Alien warning: never attack the humans, you won't survive their fury. Part 3: The Long March. The Galactic Collective called it the war. Historians would fill thousands of books about it. Scholars would study it for centuries to come. The humans called it something else. They called it the Reckoning. Admiral Samuel Briggs pushed deeper into space with a relentlessness that shocked every species in the galaxy. His fleet never rested. His soldiers never stopped. They moved from system to system like a wildfire spreading through dry forest. They tried everything to stop them. They set traps with hidden mines. The humans found them and destroyed them. They launched surprise attacks from hidden bases. The humans detected them and struck first. They developed new weapons and new tactics. The humans adapted within days, sometimes within hours. How do they learn so fast? Demanded General Al, the Emperor's chief military advisor. We develop a new strategy, and they counter it before we can use it twice. No one had an answer. The war ground on for 6 months, then 12, then 18. The humans lost ships and soldiers. They mourned their dead and kept fighting. They lost 10 times as many, and their morale crumbled with each defeat. But one thing confused the elder races watching from the sidelines. The humans destroyed every military target they found. They showed no mercy to enemy soldiers who raised weapons against them, yet they never touched the civilians. On the occupied world of Minor, a captured officer named Subcommander A sat in a human interrogation room. The human across from him was Lieutenant. a young woman with tired eyes and a gentle voice. "I do not understand," I said. "You kill our soldiers without hesitation, but your medics treat our wounded. Your engineers repair our hospitals. Why?" Looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Your soldiers chose to fight. They picked up weapons and pointed them at us. That was their choice. Your civilians made no such choice. Your children made no such choice. But they are the enemy. They support the Empire." "Do they? Did every farmer and shopkeeper on this world vote to attack New Haven? Did every mother holding her baby want our children to die?" I had no answer. "We are not monsters," continued. "We do not murder innocents. We do not burn cities for revenge. We punish those who committed the crime, not everyone who happens to share their species." "I do not understand your logic." Smiled sadly. "I know, that is why you are losing." On the collective council, the elder races debated what to do. Some wanted to help humanity. Others wanted to stop them. The representative, a calculating creature with 7 eyes, made the case for intervention. "The humans are too dangerous," they argued. "If we allow them to destroy what stops them from destroying us next? We should join with thee and crush the humans while we still can." Ambassador Al stood to respond. His scales had gone gray with age, but his voice remained strong. "I have studied humanity for 70 years. I was there when we made first contact. I have eaten at their tables and celebrated at their festivals. And I tell you now with absolute certainty, they are not conquerors." "Then what are they?" "They are avengers." Al looked around the chamber. "They do not want our worlds. They do not want our resources. They want one thing only, justice for their murdered children. If we stand in their way, we become their enemies, and I do not wish to see what happens to their enemies." The council voted to remain neutral. The war continued. Deep in space, Emperor watched his empire crumble. His vassal states abandoned him one by one. His allies sent excuses instead of reinforcements. His own generals whispered about surrender in the palace hallways. Admiral Orr, the hero of New Haven, had survived 7 major battles against the humans. His once proud fleet of 12 ships had grown to 300. Now it was down to 30. "They cannot be stopped," Orr reported to the Emperor. "I have fought many enemies in my career. I have never faced anything like this. They learn too fast, they adapt too quickly, and they never ever give up." "Then we will use the Emperor said quietly. The room fell silent. Even the guards at the door seemed to stop breathing. There was a secret weapon, built 300 years ago and never used. It could destabilize a star, causing it to explode and destroy everything in its solar system. Only the highest ranks of the Empire knew it existed. "Your Majesty," Orr said carefully, "that weapon was built for final defense. Using it offensively would end this war." The Emperor's eyes burned with hatred. "If we cannot defeat the humans in battle, we will destroy them entirely. We will send them to their home system. We will burn their Earth and every human upon it." "And if we fail?" The Emperor smiled. "We will not fail. One strike and the human species ends forever. No more war, no more humiliation, just victory." Admiral Orr nodded slowly. He did not believe in the plan, but he no longer believed in anything. The humans had taken that from him, along with everything else. There was loaded onto the fastest ship in the fleet. Its crew were volunteers who knew they would not survive the mission. Their target was Sol system. Their goal was the extinction of all humanity. They never arrived. Human intelligence had been watching. They had spies that the never found. They had listened to communications that the thought were secure. They knew about the before it even launched. A special operations team was assembled. 36 of the best soldiers humanity had to offer. Their leader was Commander Jake Martinez, a quiet man from a small town in Texas who had lost his brother on New Haven. The team intercepted the vessel in deep space. They boarded it in silence, cutting through the hull with plasma torches. The battle inside the ship lasted 6 hours. The crew fought desperately. They knew what failure meant. They defended their weapon with everything they had. In the end, 32 humans lay dead in the corridors. Commander Martinez was wounded in 4 places. 3 of his ribs were broken. He could barely breathe. But the was disabled. Martinez crawled to a communication panel and sent one final message to Admiral Briggs. Package secured. The weapon is destroyed. Recommend you finish this. He died before the response came. 3 days later, the human fleet arrived at the. Admiral Briggs looked at the planet on his screen. Prime, seat of an empire that had ruled for 10,000 years, home to 6 billion people. Home to the man who had ordered the death of his daughter. All ships, this is Admiral Briggs. His voice was calm and steady. We have traveled a long way. We have lost many good people, but this is not about revenge. This is about justice. We will give them one chance to surrender if they refuse. He paused. If they refuse, we will do what must be done. The fleet moved forward as one. Alien warning. Never attack the humans. You won't survive their fury. Part 4. The Fall of the Imperium. The Of Prime was a beautiful planet. Its skies were purple. Its oceans were green. Its cities had stood for 10,000 years, monuments to the power and glory of the empire. 6 billion lived there. Most of them had never seen a human before. They knew only what their leaders told them. The humans were weak. The humans were inferior. The humans would soon be crushed like all enemies of the Imperium. Then the human fleet arrived, and everything changed. Admiral Samuel Briggs positioned his ships at the edge of the system. Behind him stretched 6,000 warships, their weapons armed and ready. Before him waited the last hope of the Empire. 500 vessels gathered around there, ready to die defending it. Briggs opened a communication channel. Emperor, I am Admiral Samuel Briggs of the United Earth Navy. You ordered the attack on New Haven. You authorized the murder of 32,000 innocent people, including 6,000 children. You sent a weapon to destroy our and kill every human in existence. He paused to let the words sink in. These are your crimes. We have come for justice. Surrender yourself for trial and this ends peacefully. Your military will be dismantled. Your weapons will be destroyed, but your people will be spared. You have 1 hour to decide. The Emperor's response came within minutes. Human fool, you stand before the mightiest world in the galaxy. We have defenses that can crack open your pathetic fleet. We have warriors who have fought for 10,000 years. Come then, if you dare. Come and see the true power of the. Admiral Briggs ended the communication and looked at his officers. He chose poorly, Briggs said. Begin the attack. The Battle of Prime lasted 12 hours. The defenders fought bravely. They threw everything they had at the human fleet. Warships, missiles, energy weapons, fighters, all of it crashed against the human advance like waves against a rock. The rock did not move. Human ships worked together with perfect coordination. They covered each other's weaknesses. They targeted the enemy's strengths with surgical precision. They found gaps in the defenses that should not have existed and struck without mercy. One by one, the orbital platforms fell. One by one, the defending ships exploded into balls of fire. The purple sky of Prime filled with debris and burning wreckage. When the orbital defenses were finally destroyed, the human fleet did not bombard the planet. There were 6 billion civilians down there, most of them innocent. Destroying them was never the plan. Instead, thousands of landing craft descended through the atmosphere. The humans called them Marines. They were the finest soldiers Earth had ever produced, men and women trained from youth to fight in any environment, against any enemy, under any conditions. They had fought across 100 worlds during the long march through space. Now they would fight on the itself. Lieutenant Shaw was among the first Marines to touch ground on Prime. He was 29 years old, with the same brown hair and determined eyes as his sister. The sister who had died holding the line at New Haven. Had volunteered for the ground assault. His commanding officers had tried to talk him out of it. They said he was too emotionally involved. They said revenge could cloud his judgment. Did not care. He needed to be there when it ended. The ground campaign was brutal but precise. Human forces targeted military installations and government buildings. They destroyed every weapon and every soldier that resisted, but they left the homes and businesses untouched. They set up medical stations to treat wounded civilians. They protected the innocent even as they hunted the guilty. The emperor fled to his palace as the humans advanced. The ancient fortress had stood for 8,000 years. Its walls were thick. Its defenses were formidable. 10,000 of the finest warriors in the empire stood ready to defend their ruler. The emperor believed he was safe. He was wrong. Shaw's unit was assigned to the palace assault, 200 Marines against 10,000 guards. The numbers seemed impossible. The battle lasted 3 hours. The humans did not fight like the enemies they were used to. They did not stand in formation and exchange fire. They moved through the palace like shadows, striking from darkness and vanishing before the enemy could respond. They had numbers. The humans had training, technology, and something else, something they could not understand. They had fury. Every human soldier in that palace knew about New Haven. They knew about the children who died screaming. They knew about Captain Shaw's final transmission. They knew what the Emperor had tried to do with the... And they were very, very angry. When the fighting ended, 9,000 guards lay dead. The human casualties numbered 312, many of them wounded rather than killed. Shaw was one of 12 Marines who reached the throne room. The Emperor sat on his ancient seat, surrounded by the last 50 guards. He looked old and tired and afraid. "Surrender," said. His voice was calm, but his hands were steady on his weapon. "It is over." The Emperor stood slowly. "You cannot do this. I am the ruler of the... I have commanded this empire for 100 years. You are nothing but insects." Walked forward. The remaining guards raised their weapons, but they did not fire. They knew it was hopeless. "My name is Shaw," he said. "My sister was Captain Shaw of New Haven Colony. She died protecting children from your soldiers." The Emperor sneered. "One dead human, why should I care?" "You should not," stopped directly in front of the throne. "She was one life among 32,000, one voice among millions who will never speak again, but she was my sister, and she was worth more than your entire empire." He pulled out a pair of magnetic restraints. "Emperor, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity. You will be transported to Earth to stand trial. If you resist, you will be killed. Choose." For a long moment the Emperor said nothing. Then slowly he extended his hands. The restraints clicked shut around his wrists. The trial was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species in the collective watched as humanity presented its evidence. They showed recordings of the New Haven attack. They played testimonies from survivors. They displayed the names and faces of every person who had died. 6,000 of those faces belonged to children. The Emperor tried to defend himself. He claimed the attack was justified. He said humans were inferior and deserved to be conquered. He argued that strength was the only law that mattered. The human judges listened patiently. Then they announced their verdict. Guilty on all counts. The sentence was death by firing squad. On the morning of the execution, Emperor was led to a courtyard on Earth. 12 human soldiers stood waiting, their weapons ready. A crowd had gathered to watch, not just humans, but representatives of every species in the collective. The Emperor's final words were lost to history. Some say he was still screaming about his divine right to rule. Others say he begged for mercy at the end. Either way, it did not matter. The rifles fired, the emperor fell, and the 10,000-year reign of the Imperium came to an end. 1 week later, the remaining leaders signed a treaty of unconditional surrender. Their military was disbanded. Their weapons were destroyed. Their territory was placed under human supervision. The war was over. Humanity had won. But as Ambassador Al watched the signing ceremony, he could not help but wonder, at what cost? And what would the galaxy look like now that everyone knew what humanity was capable of? He looked at the human delegates. They were not celebrating. They were not smiling. They looked tired and sad and ready to go home. They had not wanted this war. They had not enjoyed it. But they had finished it. And that, Al realized, was perhaps the most frightening thing of all. Alien warning: never attack the humans. You won't survive their fury. Part 5: The New Order. The Galactic Collective convened an emergency session 3 months after the surrender. All 17 elder races sent their highest representatives. The chamber was fuller than it had been in centuries. Everyone wanted to talk about humanity. They destroyed a 10,000-year empire in 18 months, said the representative. They built 6,000 warships in 3 months. They developed weapons we cannot understand and tactics we cannot counter. They are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. What do you suggest? Asked High Counselor. We must contain them, form an alliance, build a fleet capable of matching theirs, make them understand that we will not tolerate. Tolerate what? Ambassador Al stood slowly. His scales had faded to gray, but his eyes were sharp. What exactly have the humans done to us? They conquered They attacked them first. They murdered their children. They tried to destroy their. Al looked around the chamber. What would any of us have done in their place? They had no answer. I have spent my entire career studying other species, Al continued. I have watched empires rise and fall. I have seen civilizations destroy themselves through fear and hatred. And I tell you now, with all the wisdom I have gathered in my long life, humanity is not our enemy. They never were. Then why are they so feared? Al was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. Because they love too deeply, because they care too much, because when someone hurts what they love, they will burn the galaxy to make it right. He paused. That is terrifying, yes, but it is also beautiful, and we would be fools to make such a species our enemy when they want nothing more than to be our friend. The chamber fell silent. I have a message from the human government, Al said. They asked me to deliver it personally. He activated a holographic display. The face of human President Maria appeared, a woman of 60 years with kind eyes and a gentle voice. Honored members of the Galactic Collective, she began. The war is over. The Imperium has fallen. Justice has been served for the people of New Haven. She paused. We know you are afraid of us now. We know you watched what we did and wondered if we might someday do it to you. I understand that fear. We are a young species. We come from a violent world. We have done terrible things in our history. The recording continued. But we do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want your worlds or your resources or your submission. We want what we have always wanted: peace, trade, exploration, friendship. We want to raise our children in safety. We want to learn from you and teach you in return. We want to stand beside you as equals, not above you as conquerors. President leaned forward. We gave you 50 years of peace before New Haven. We will give you 500 more if you let us. The war is over. We have no more grievances. We ask only that you remember one thing. Her eyes hardened just for a moment. Do not hurt our people. Do not threaten our children. Do not mistake our kindness for weakness. We are humanity. We survive. We adapt. We overcome. And we protect what we love no matter the cost. The recording ended. The collective voted to accept humanity's terms, Trade routes reopened. Embassies were rebuilt. Slowly, carefully, the galaxy returned to normal. But things were different now. The collective updated its official database of dangerous phenomena. A new entry was added, classified at the highest level. The entry read, Class Omega Warning Humanity, Native to Sol System, Appearance, Bipedal Soft-Bodied Unremarkable, 8120 Standard Years, Technology, Rapidly Advancing, Military Capability, Maximum Threat Level. Below that was a special warning, highlighted in red. Do not provoke, do not harm their civilians, do not threaten their young. Under no circumstances should hostile action be taken against human populations. If conflict occurs, immediate surrender is strongly recommended. Humans do not forgive attacks on their own. They do not forget. They will not stop until justice is served. 50 years after the war, a young diplomat named traveled to meet the retired ambassador Al. The old had become famous throughout the galaxy as the foremost expert on human behavior. What are they really like? I asked. Are they as dangerous as the stories say? Al smiled. He was very old now, his scales almost white, but his mind remained sharp. Let me tell you a story, he said. When I was young, I traveled to Earth for a cultural exchange. I stayed with a human family for 1 month. They had 2 children, a boy and a girl. He looked out the window at the stars. One day, the boy fell from a tree and broke his arm. I watched his mother run to him. I watched his father carry him to the medical center. I watched his sister stay by his bedside all night, holding his hand while he slept. The old ambassador turned back to his young visitor. When the boy woke up, do you know what he said? He said he wanted to climb that tree again. His mother was horrified, but his father smiled and said, "That is my son. He falls down and he gets back up. That is what we do." I considered this. I do not understand what this has to do with their military capability. It has everything to do with it. Al leaned forward. Humans fall down. They suffer disasters and plagues and wars. They lose people they love. And every single time they get back up. They do not surrender. They do not give up. They keep fighting until they win or until there is nothing left of them to fight. He paused. The thought they were strong because they had conquered many worlds, but they had never faced a species that refused to stay down. They had never fought an enemy that would sacrifice everything to protect its own. That was their mistake, and they paid for it with their empire. I nodded slowly. So what should we do? How do we live alongside such a dangerous species? Al chuckled. The same thing I have done for 100 years. Treat them with kindness. Respect their customs. Share meals with them and listen to their stories. And never, ever threaten their families. Is that all? There is one more thing. The old ambassador's eyes softened. If you are ever fortunate enough to call a human friend, cherish that friendship, because there is no species in the galaxy more loyal. They will stand beside you in your darkest hour. They will fight for you when no one else will. They will love you with a fierceness that defies reason. He looked back at the stars. I have lived a long life. I have met thousands of beings from hundreds of species. But my closest friend, the one I miss most now that I am old, was a human named Daniel Price. He was the first human I ever met. He greeted me with a warm handshake and a warmer smile. Al's voice grew soft. When he died 20 years ago, I traveled to Earth for his funeral. I was the only alien there. His children welcomed me like family. He sat on my lap and asked me questions about the stars. He wiped his eyes. That is humanity, terrible and beautiful, dangerous and kind, capable of burning empires and capable of crossing the galaxy to mourn a friend. The young diplomat sat quietly for a long moment. You truly love them, I said. I do, Al nodded. And they love us in their own strange way. That love is why we are safe. That love is why we prosper. That love is why the galaxy has known peace for 50 years. He looked at his young visitor with ancient, knowing eyes. Just make sure you never become their enemy, because that same love that protects us will destroy anything that threatens what they hold dear. He paused one final time, and they will never, ever stop. Far away, across the galaxy, human children played in parks beneath alien suns. Human traders laughed with alien merchants in busy markets. Human scientists worked alongside alien researchers to unlock the secrets of the universe. Humanity had found its place among the stars, and the galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Never attack the humans. You will not survive their fury.